Hi, I'm Megan Baker, and this is InfluenceHER. Valarie Drown is the project director for the Alzheimer's Disease Caregivers Support Initiative in the Northeastern New York. It's a nonprofit that is very close to our heart here at Baker Public Relations. The initiative provides a wide range of free support and services to caregivers of people with Alzheimer's disease and other dementias. Valarie has been working in the field for more than 20 years and is a caregiver herself. Welcome, Valarie. It's so nice to have you here.
Thank you. Very nice to be here.
Can you start by first sharing with us your own personal experience being a caregiver with those who have impacted your family, such as your mom and your son?
Sure. So I'll start off by saying that when I was 13, my grandmother died of Alzheimer's disease. So it kind of set the stage for how we were going to see my path go. And then my uncle, who was like my father to me, he died in 2020, and he had had a stroke in 2011. So vascular dementia and Alzheimer's running side by side. Going forward to today, my mom, she has Alzheimer's disease, but I think it's more of the lines of Lewy body because she's going downhill very fast. And they call me the sandwich generation. I like to think of myself as I'm the messy sandwich. I think of a sandwich as being well put together. My sandwich seems to be a little crooked with the meat hanging out because I have a son with special needs. So my caregiving for him is very different. In 2018, he tried to kill me. So that put him in residential placement for 3.5 years. I just got him home. And so it's dealing with, I just put my mom in a nursing home last week, a week ago today. So I deal with my mom with her dementia, and then I deal with my son who has needs that are ever-changing and extremely difficult to manage. So when I say I'm not a well-put-together sandwich of the sandwich generation, that is very true.
Well, I mean, it takes a lot to be able to care for a mom and then a son. I have a grandfather that passed from Alzheimer's and saw just his progression.
Yeah.
You go from someone having such a sharp mind to not being able to remember, not even knowing who you are. It's very challenging.
And that's where we're at. And with her Lewy body, so she was a registered nurse. So she still thinks she's nursing in the long-term care facility. But with Lewy body, her biggest presentations are hallucinations. And so she's constantly thinking that she's seeing this little boy that she has to take care of, and she's trying to leave the facility because she needs to go find him. And it's always something. I've talked to them every day since she's gone in.
November is National Family Caregivers Awareness Month, a time to recognize informal, unpaid caregivers. As you know firsthand, it's far from an easy job. What advice do you have to women and others who are just starting out on this journey and are unfamiliar with what it entails?
Right. So I'm going to reference a cartoon. It's a Toy Story. And so when Woody is talking, he's talking about a moving buddy, and he says, you don't have one? Get one. Same goes with a support squad. So with our caregivers, our new caregivers, women in general, get a support squad together. Support squad includes your friends, includes your family, but also include providers or therapists, people that you can talk to. Our family and our friends are great. But they know a more emotional side to us. They know our history, whereas providers can give us more objective feedback. They can provide us with the education we need. Education is key, knowing what you're in for. If someone would have said Lewy body to, say, my husband, he wouldn't have an idea of what Lewy body even means or what the progression is. So get educated. Get the support squad in place. And a lot of caregivers will say, well, I don't need it yet. I don't need it yet. You might not think you need it right off, but you do. Because what we want to avoid is working in a time of crisis. We want to be prepared, or as prepared as possible. When we're working in times of crisis, it is overwhelming and we don't always make our best decisions.
You wear multiple hats: wife, mom, caregiver. What challenges are you seeing that working caregivers face? Like, what are some of the biggest?
I am extremely blessed to be working for the Research Foundation because they are very good in allowing me to be flexible in my schedule. So if something happens, I can pick up and I can leave. A lot of employers aren't doing that for the working caregiver, the working woman. And so I think the biggest challenges can be time management, trying to get everything completed and everything done, and then work in the moments of crisis where you have to up and leave. And fatigue, we're exhausted. I am exhausted. I don't sleep well at night, and so it's not like I can just wipe my world away. I have to function, and I have to function well for my job, for my family, for all of the responsibilities I do. So fatigue is extremely difficult to fight through. I would say that those time management and fatigue are the most difficult for being a working woman.
It's almost like being a first-time mom all over again with the sleepless nights and the fatigue.
And I think that the sleepless nights are so different. When my children, I have 3. When my children were little, you'd be up and you'd be rocking them and be tired. With me, I'm up and my brain is not stopping. And I have the worries and the frustrations and the fears, and all of that is draining on top of not sleeping.
How is your son doing back at home, by the way?
We're really struggling. I wanted him home. I fought to have him home. It was not the decision of anybody other than myself. So although it is absolutely amazing to see his face every day, it is a struggle every single day. We're already having school issues. I'm already getting a lot of challenging behaviors at times, but I'm blessed that he hasn't tried to hurt me again.
You mentioned support is key. Caregiving can be very isolating. What words of comfort can you offer to women who feel like they are juggling it all and alone?
So I think the biggest thing when you're talking to people in general, what we hear is, oh, it sounds just like my mom, or it sounds just like... We're unique. Every story is unique. Every situation is unique. But even in our uniqueness, there is a bonding between other caregivers. So although our stories are different, we share that emotion of being a caregiver. So what I would say is you're not alone, but don't forget you are a unique individual. You're a unique woman. And try to hold on to the strengths that you have and not focus so much on the weaknesses or the fear. Remembering that you have a group of very strong women, strong independent women, who are also in the same boat.
Everyone needs a break or some kind of escape. Let's talk a little bit about what is respite care and why is it important for caregivers to acknowledge that they need relief.
So respite care is getting that break from caregiving. And what I find, and I include myself in this, is that when we get a break, we fill our breaks with all of the things that we need to get accomplished. So through our program, we offer respite service. And what I find are the caregivers will run to the grocery store, they'll go to the pharmacy, they do all of the activities or responsibilities that they need to have done, rather than taking a break. So what I tell people is my favorite place to go is I go and I sit at the park. And I sit at the park in my car with my book. But that's maybe a half hour that I'm trying not to focus on anything else. I'm not running myself ragged. I am just focused on just breathing, just surviving, and getting lost in my book. And so people need to understand that respite is so important, because if we don't take time for ourselves, it results in physical problems, mental health issues, and for many of us, we either become very sad, very lonely, or for some of us, very angry. And that will show or rear its ugly head, as I say. It will rear its ugly head against the people that we care the most about.
What are some of the early signs of dementia, and how can we recognize this in a spouse, a loved one, a parent?
So there are so many different types of dementia. I say it's like the Baskin Robbins. You know, you have to find out what flavor it is to know which dementia you're dealing with. And each one has its own characteristic of how it starts. So I would say short-term memory loss. One of the big ones for me was my mom wanted to make box brownies, like literally box brownies. And she called me 5 times trying to put together a set of box brownies. She wasn't able to understand the directions, which for a retired nurse, that's really noticeable. For some people, it's language difficulties, word finding difficulties, the inability to follow through with a sentence, naming difficulties. All of a sudden, it's someone they should know and they don't. It might not be their children yet, but it could be their neighbor or a friend that they haven't seen maybe in a little while. And the excuse we often hear is, well, I don't see them very much. Right. There's a lot of rationalization early in the ball game. But I would say mobility issues, so the ability to walk quite right. I mean, that can be a sign of Parkinson's. So each flavor of dementia has a different characteristic, but even if you notice the smallest things, talk to your primary care doctor. Point out the things that you're noticing, because if we can get an early diagnosis, that helps the family to make decisions and the person with dementia to help make their own decisions based on what they want.
Some people might not know what resources are available through the Alzheimer's Caregivers Support Initiative. What are they?
So through the initiative, we have care consultations, which it's case management. So you have somebody who can walk alongside of you, who's able to provide you with resources and information related to specific memory difficulties. We have memory cafes where people are able to go and socialize with other individuals with memory loss, and it's a time for the caregiver and the person with dementia to make new memories together. We have support groups, we have education and training. We're just starting a music and memory program for people who are agitated. They have a special playlist built just for them based on the music that they used to love, and they're able to put those headphones on and listen to something that could be calming and soothing, and also the caregiver can get a little break from caregiving if their loved one is able to be less agitated. We have caregiver wellness programs, so this is a new program for us as well, where the caregiver is able to go out into the community, and let's say they want to take on yoga classes. We'll pay for the classes so that they can go and focus on their own health and wellness, because what we know, our caregivers, we are the worst for taking care of ourselves. And if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of somebody else. So we offer all of those services, and Project Lifesaver, which is a wandering device. And what I'll say, our caregivers are often saying, you know, my loved one hasn't wandered yet. Yet is the key word, and we don't want to wait until they wander and then have to put a bracelet on. We want to try to stop those events from happening. And we've had, I believe it's 5 saves just through our funding. We've had 5 people that have been able to be located. And in the Adirondacks, where we are, you lose someone and it can be detrimental.
Valarie, we really appreciate the time and shedding light on the importance of caregivers, people like yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Know that the work you do is not going unrecognized.
Thank you.
And thank you, too, for giving us more information on Alzheimer's Caregiver Support Initiative.
Thank you very much.